What does it look like to move a photography business across the country? What are your options and what steps do you have to take? I am a brand photographer and business coach for photographers and other creatives, and up until recently, I ran my business in the Bay Area, California. But about a year ago, I moved across the country to Boston, Massachusetts because my husband got a job here. So today, I want to have a candid conversation about how I moved my business across the country, what steps I took, what I did before moving, what I did as soon as I got here, and now being a year into this move, how I've kind of settled in. I don't think there are a lot of resources out there on how to move a photography business because I surely didn't find them, so here we are. March of 2023 is when this all started. This is when we found out we were going to be moving from California to Boston, and we were going to be making this move at the end of May. Now, if you think about it, that is really only 2 months of notice to move your entire life and business across the country. And keep in mind, I also had a physical studio space called the Sunlight Space in California at the time that I still had a year on for the lease. At this point in time, I had already been running my business for 5 years on the West Coast, so I was pretty established. So when this news first hit me, don't get me wrong, I was very excited because I've always wanted to live on the East Coast in New England, but on the flip side, I was thinking, how on earth am I going to move this business across the country? The first thing that I decided to do was tell all of my existing clients first. So people who had booked brand photo shoots with me in the past, I sent out this BCC email. It was personalized to past clients, basically telling them the situation and saying, hey, this is kind of your last chance to book a photo shoot with me. So if you need a refresh session, literally now is the time. I do not have any other options for you. This ended up working pretty well as a sales strategy. So I found out about the move in March. At the beginning of April, I sent out this email to my clients. And then I was thinking in my head, like, oh, I can book new clients in May. That'll be the last chance because I wanted to give my returning clients that first notice. Then with any remaining spots, fill it with new clients doing the same style of announcement like, hey, now's your chance. If you want to book with me, I'm leaving. In my brain, I thought that was a great idea. But what I didn't account for was moving time. Because if you are in the process of moving or planning a move or whatever, it takes up so much time. While I am glad that I got to work with my past clients again, and I brought on a couple of new clients at the time, I wish I hadn't taken on so many. It was very exhausting and took me a long time, like a couple of months, to recuperate after the move. Now, for the long-term plan, at this time, I had started bringing on an associate photographer, also named Emily. Apparently, you can only work at Emily Kim if you're also named Emily. And my long-term plan was that I would come back quarterly for shoots, and then for anything in between, I would do the sales call, I would do the photo shoot planning, Emily would execute the shoot and I would edit it. So basically same thing, but moving more into an agency style. We've been doing that for about a year. I have learned that bringing on an associate to do the fun part, which is the photography, takes a lot of the fun out of it for me. While we still have some clients that we will serve in this manner, it is something that we are working on offloading. It worked for a while and now it doesn't work anymore because I don't want to run an agency, which is just how life goes. I do still return to the Bay Area, not quarterly because that is a long flight. I thought I would be able to handle it more than I do, so I really go back maybe twice a year. Now, let's not forget about the studio, the Sunlight Space, because when we moved in May of 2023, I still had a year left on the lease. The thing with the Sunlight Space is it became such a central hub in the community. It was used by so many photographers and for meetups and stuff like that. I didn't want to just abandon it, so at the time, I also had Emily manage it for me. She was doing in-person management, like tidying up the space, making sure props were stocked, all that good stuff, and I was doing the back-end admin side of it. I also had a virtual assistant at the time who was helping me do more of the admin stuff. This worked out pretty well because it almost sounded like passive income, but there were certain things that come up, as they do when you have a physical space, that I so wish I could have been there in person to deal with it versus handing it off to someone else to do it. Not for any other reason than I just wish I could have handled it and not put that burden on someone else, you know? So we'll put the Sunlight Space on hold and then let's get into the Boston game plan. My initial plan when moving to Boston was to reach out to as many Boston photographers as possible and offer to be a videographer for their packages. Because I offer both brand photo and video, I thought, okay, this is a great way for me to help other photographers in the area and also not compete with their services and network with other people and make friends. Because when we moved here, we didn't know anybody. We didn't know a single person in this area. Now, again, in my brain, this sounded like such a great idea. But when I got here, I was exhausted. Exhausted from the move, exhausted from all the client work, and I still had a lot of client work to process when I got here. I told everyone that. They knew, like, okay, Emily's working with a lot of clients right now. Some of the stuff is going to be delayed. And I wish I hadn't done that because I pride myself on my quick turnaround time, and I felt like that move, I wasn't able to do that. I did let my clients know, so everybody expected it, but I wish I would have managed that better. If I were to do this move again, I would not take on as many clients and schedule in more buffer time and be super duper extra clear with turnaround times. Even though I was, it would have made me feel better if I could go back and redo that a little bit. When I moved to Boston, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a week. I'll take a week off and then I'll hit the ground running. In what world? Like, not only was I doing all of this work and then moving across the country, if you followed me on Instagram at the time, you already know the story, but on that one-way flight from San Francisco to Boston, Rosie, this sweet, beautiful angel of a dog, did not have a good time. And can I say this without it getting censored? She pooped all over me. Not the kind that's easy to clean up. So that's how I started my cross-country move, okay? I needed more than a week to recover from the situation. Go to my Instagram story highlights if you want to see the whole thing, it's there. Another thing that I learned from this move is that I was definitely a workaholic. And I'm sharing this with you because I want to be honest. When we moved to Boston, I went from shooting probably 3 or 5 times a week to nothing. And that was a huge shock to my system. This move really forced me to slow down because not only was I not going to photo shoots, I didn't have meetings, I didn't have events I was going to because I didn't know anybody. When I got here, I was kind of in this haze almost, and it was a lot to handle. Had I done this move again, I would have scheduled out probably a month of buffer time. I would be a lot more lenient on myself and give myself more than just a week to recover from a cross-country move because I couldn't do it. My body was just not having it. Now, once I recovered from this haze of moving across the country, the first thing that I did was I looked for local networking groups. I still hadn't gone to an event in person yet, but I found this Facebook group of local business owners and I just introduced myself. I asked people to schedule 30-minute coffee chats with me, either on Zoom or in person if they were local to me. A big thing that I see new photographers especially do when they move to a new area in Facebook groups, because I'm in them a lot, is they'll say, hi, I'm a portrait photographer. I just moved to the area. I'm now booking sessions. That's not that effective because these people don't know you. What incentive do they have to book with you if you are just like coming fresh onto the scene? You haven't built that trust yet. So my biggest priority when moving to Boston was to meet other people. And also this was how I made friends. I put out this intro post. I booked probably 20 or 30 calls. I made several friends from that. I was also able to close several thousands of dollars in business because of this. Not immediately, that probably was over the span of 6 months, but some of the people that scheduled these one-on-one coffee chats with me ended up being photography clients. So that's one thing that I am glad that I did. I'm really happy that my first priority upon moving here was networking. And honestly, I think that's the best way. When you come to a new place where you don't know where anything is, you don't know where people hang out, meeting a lot of people is going to be the best way for you to get plugged into the community. One thing that I wish I had done differently that I can now tell in hindsight is I wish I had cut back on my business expenses a little bit sooner than I did. Since moving to Boston, I still go back to the Bay Area for photo shoots. I still do some associate shoots, but if you watch my previous video, you'll see that in 2022, the year before I moved, I spent a lot on my team and on growing my team. Well, now since I moved to Boston, I don't have nearly the same volume that I did when I was at my max capacity, so I could have cut back on those expenses a little bit sooner, but hindsight's 2020 and there's not really any way that I could have known how this would have panned out. A couple of other things, I don't know if this falls under like advice or tips or what, but in moving to Boston from California, something that I didn't realize was weather. In December, I had booked a photo shoot for myself because I needed some updated branding photos, and I said, oh, we'll just go outside. And my photographer said, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, why not? Because in California, I never had to think about weather. It was almost always 70 and sunny all the time. We can go outside whenever we want. Not the case pretty much anywhere else in the country. And I should know this because I'm from Tennessee and I went to school in Alabama. So it's not like I don't know about weather, right? But in terms of photography, it's just not something that I thought about in a really long time. And that affects bookings here and seasonality. So in this area in particular, it's really important to have studio spaces, which I've now done some research on and I have some that I like. Another thing is back in the Bay Area, I have a full, beautiful network of connections and of people that I love to work with. Makeup artists, wardrobe stylists, like you need a referral, I got you. But here, that's gonna take some time for me to build up. I will say that I am building those connections faster because I know where to look for them. For me, that's in Facebook groups, but it's still something to consider. Just because I meet someone once for coffee doesn't mean they're immediately going to trust me or know what it's like to work with me. So that still takes time. The next thing that I wish I had done differently was saved up more in business savings. I had some saved already. Since I only had 2 months notice, it's not like I could accumulate a lot more that quickly. But now my goal is to keep a little bit more padding in my business account to cover expenses in case of a big move like this or in case something comes up, because you never know when something does. I think the biggest thing to remember is to be kind to yourself in a move like this. It's going to take time to rebuild your book of business, but the most important thing that you can do is go out and meet people, go network with people. My favorite thing to do is to find a group that meets monthly, so you're seeing the same faces over and over again, which helps you build those deeper relationships. If you have any additional tips on how to handle a cross-country move for your business, please drop them in the comments so everybody can read them, and I will see you in the next video.